Now, these memos, Judicial Watch has long sought through Freedom of Information Act litigation. In fact, the litigation began last year. And the Justice Department and the FBI has been stonewalling the releases of this information for about a year, almost a year or so. And they finally released the documents to Congress after Congress, some intrepid congressmen and some intrepid House members, looking at what Judicial Watch is able to do by pushing hard for documents, have decided to push hard for documents using the powers of the House and the Constitution, which is something we've long called for. And they forced the Justice Department to finally turn over these Comey memos. And boy, do they make the Mueller look bad, they make the Justice Department look bad, and obviously James Comey. The documents contain classified information. The documents contain not one iota of information that Donald Trump did anything wrong or colluded with the Russians or anything of that nature. But they do make it look like the FBI director at the time was out to get Donald Trump, namely James Comey. And secondly, it makes it look like the Mueller operation had no reason for being because there's no evidence of any crimes requiring the appointment of a special counsel in these documents. Now go back to last year. James Comey got fired was fired by President Trump, rightly so, because I think President Trump didn't trust him. And retaliation, and as part of a vendetta against him, James Comey leaked his memos through a friend, Professor Richmond, who is a friend now / a lawyer, which is convenient, which was then leaked to the New York Times. And it was that publication of material in the New York Times from these memos that led to the appointment and the pressure for the appointment of a special counsel. So Comey said boo, and Rosenstein appointed a special counsel, the Deputy Attorney General, because Jeff Sessions had wrongly recused himself. Now, when you read the memos, and they're available online, go ahead and read them. And you're not going to see anything in there requiring the appointment of a special counsel or crimes by the president. James Comey has been out there on his book tour. He obviously hates President Trump. He sounds, as I said on TV earlier this week, he sounds like he could be running the DNC. It's just surprising that someone so political was in a position as FBI director. I guess it's not surprising given it was the Obama administration, but he obviously has disdain for the President of the United States, and it explains why, in part, his FBI was used to target him improperly, it looks like, last year and into the beginning of his administration. Arguably, it's still going on, thanks to the somnolescent leadership over at the FBI. So when you look at these documents, you'll see that the President Trump was upset about this DNC Clinton dossier that alleged some untoward activity with prostitutes in Russia. And Comey makes a big deal that the president was upset about that. What rational person wouldn't be upset about something like that, especially if it wasn't true? Comey also makes a big deal about the president asking for his loyalty after Comey said that he should stay on his job. And the president said, well, I want to be sure you're loyal. There's nothing inappropriate about that. And this James Comey had a series of meetings with the president, allegedly, and then wrote these documents after the fact to paper the record. I don't know if these memos are trustworthy, frankly. I really don't know if they're trustworthy. But there's really a remarkable section of one of the memos that I want to call attention to. Let me get all my stuff together here. He talks about the president being able to fire him. And he's trying to convince him to keep him in his job. And he says, I added that I was, quote, reliable in one way, but not in the way political people sometimes use the term. I explained that he could count on me to always tell the truth. I would hope so. I said I don't do sneaky things. I don't leak. I don't do weasel moves. Only James Comey, the arrogance, could supposedly contemporaneously write a memo saying he can be trusted, he can't do sneaky things, he doesn't leak, I don't do weasel moves. He documents it in a weasel memo he wrote after such dishonesty and misconduct documented as obliviously as Mr. Comey has in these memos. And it's pretty clear the memos have been mischaracterized, because when you look at them, no big deal, but the way they've been described by Mr. Comey with all the drama and the way that they were described to the New York Times, you would have thought the president was trying to bring down the republic as opposed to having regular conversations with the FBI director. And I tell you, I am upset the Justice Department withheld these documents. As I said, they withheld them from Judicial Watch. They told them we couldn't have them. We couldn't have them. We could not have them because Mueller was using them. Some of them had classified information in them. And any leaks by Comey, because we were pointing out, well, if the New York Times got the records, why can't we? Any leaks by Comey were unauthorized and compared to WikiLeaks. They said this last year. And now the news today is the Inspector General of the United States is investigating Mr. Comey over the mishandling of these classified records, because at least 2 of the memos, which are classified, you can see the black marks indicating classification. They're also labeled classified, were shared with his friend, this Professor Richmond, who leaked material to the New York Times. I don't know if he leaked classified information, but I can tell you, you can't take classified information out of secure facilities, and you can't share it with people who aren't approved to see it. And you can't take government information generally out of facilities that the government, if they're government documents, you just can't take them and share them. So there are multiple issues with James Comey. So the irony is now that James Comey is being investigated by the Inspector General, and recall, the prosecutors are waiting for referrals from the Inspector General. And James Comey is now in the same boat as Hillary Clinton legally, who also mishandled classified information. So when you hear James Comey explain why it is he didn't think Hillary Clinton did break the law, that's James Comey presenting a defense case for himself in a just world. So I don't know what this IG is going to find, whether he actually did anything wrong with the mishandling of this classified information, but the evidence is right here. We know he took these documents. He's described taking the documents and leaking them. We now know some of them were classified. Those are all crimes. And James Comey has pretended they're not crimes. And you got to wonder, was he exonerating Hillary Clinton because he was doing some of the same thing Hillary Clinton was doing? You got to wonder, given what we found in these documents. And there was a lot of concern about supposedly what the president said about General Flynn, asking him to say he was a good, telling he's a good guy, he hopes he could let it go. Nothing inappropriate about that. Even James Comey doesn't admit he doesn't think that it's necessarily obstruction of justice. So now James Comey is under potential criminal investigation, at least not initially, but it's an IG investigation, could lead to criminal charges. How do I know it could lead to criminal charges? Because the IG also this week referred to prosecutors in the Justice Department, Andrew McCabe, for potential criminal charges over his lies to FBI investigators in the IG probe into his leaks about the Clinton issue. Now, Andrew McCabe and James Comey could both be facing criminal charges for their misconduct at the FBI and shortly thereafter. Comey specifically over his misconduct targeting the President of the United States. Isn't that ironic? And for all of this, there's still no evidence President Trump committed any crimes warranting a special counsel investigation. No evidence at all. And I tell you, the Justice Department, run by the Attorney General Sessions and Mr. Rosenstein, who made the decision to withhold these documents? There was no reason to withhold these documents. You know why they withheld them? Because they showed that the appointment of the special counsel was a joke. There was no basis, zero good faith basis to appoint a special counsel to target President Trump. These are the memos that resulted in the special counsel.